Chapter 17, Scala at Caelum. When Sora next opened his eyes, he beheld streets lined with beautiful white buildings beneath the blue sky. "Whoa, where are we?" Sora said to himself. Donald and Goofy were right beside him, taking in their new surroundings just like him. It was a curious town. The buildings seemed to have grown up through the clear blue sky surface of the water like trees, or some sort of aquatic plant life. What's more, there looked to be several more islands like the one he was on. Each one was covered by a large cone-shaped arrangement of small white houses stacked atop one another. Whether this was a lake or an ocean wasn't immediately apparent, but the water separated these towns all the same. They were all connected only by ropeways. But there wasn't a single living soul in sight, human or otherwise. "It's beautiful," Goofy commented as he surveyed the view. Donald wasn't having it, though. "Admire it another time." They were at the end of a pier extending into the water, and there was a bridge that led back into the city itself. "Right, we need to find Master Xehanort," Sora said, looking at the streets before him. His two friends nodded. "It sure is awful quiet here," Goofy remarked. "There's no one around," added Donald. The two of them couldn't hide their nervousness once they stepped off the bridge into the town proper. The place really seemed abandoned. Just then, something caught Sora's attention. Master Xehanort was crossing the street a short way ahead of them. "Hey!" Sora took off in pursuit of the old man, but then he saw Xehanort again, but not where he should have been. Instead, he was partway up some stairs facing them. "Huh?" Donald and Goofy caught up with a thoroughly puzzled Sora. "He was just over there a second ago, so did he move somehow? No, that's not it. What's going on?" All over the streets around them, there were Master Xehanorts popping in and out of being. After a while, the Xehanorts began to take on a different appearance. The new Xehanort floated up above the ground and wore a black coat embroidered with red lines and a mask topped with 3 curved horns. There were a total of 12 of them arranged in the air, looking down at Sora, Donald, and Goofy from all sides. "Are you serious?" Sora readied his Keyblade, while Donald and Goofy got their weapons ready too. "The organization?" asked Donald. "Well, I don't think they're the locals," said Goofy, just as the 12 replica Xehanorts blinked out of view. Sora advanced carefully, keeping an eye on his surroundings when one of the replicas appeared in front of him and struck. Once the blow had landed, it darted back into the air. Sora leaped up after it to get in some hits of his own. The replicas teleported through the air as they fought, attacking one after the other. Meanwhile, one of their number stayed on the ground to keep Donald and Goofy busy. Sora fought back with his Keyblade, but the replica Xehanorts proved to be challenging opponents to catch amid the winding streets. Eventually, all 12 of the replicas took to the air and arranged themselves in a ring overhead. The sky grew dark as an arcane symbol formed and rained down bolts of lightning down at the city below. Once the onslaught subsided, the replicas all charged Sora at once. Sora did his best to beat them back with his Keyblade, while Donald kept him healed up with magic and Goofy protected them with his shield. Bit by bit, they began to wear down their foes. "Time to end this!" Sora shouted, and then Goofy and Donald joined him in a final rush. At last, through the combined efforts of the light from a Keyblade, the magic from a staff, and a good old-fashioned shield bash, the last of the replica Xehanorts expired. The sky cleared, leaving Sora and his friends panting under a bright sun. They were completely exhausted. "Of all the places to be sent, that voice! Master Xehanort!" Sora exclaimed, Keyblade back in hand. The old man turned from his somewhat bemused inspection of a building and held his hands up dramatically, as if he were about to begin a speech. "Behold this town! Once a seat of power for all Keyblade wielders, it is the nexus from which all worlds spring. Here, I and my other selves can be one, united in Scala ad Caelum." The 12 replicas they had defeated rose again, and turned into clouds of black energy that then flew to Master Xehanort. As he absorbed them all, his body took on a dark aura and floated into the air. The aura wove and twisted like a whirlwind. From the eye of the dark storm emerged Master Xehanort, now wearing armor and a helmet shaped like the head of a goat. Sora, Donald, and Goofy were ready. "Come on! Let's get 'em!" "Yeah!" Master Xehanort waved his hand, and the world around them began to twist. The buildings suddenly jerked into motion, first turning on their sides and then upside down. Sora fell to the ground, which had been the sky just moments ago. The city had been completely reversed, like they were inside a mirror, confusing their senses so completely that it was almost impossible to tell left from right or up from down. Master Xehanort remained safely in the air through all of it. "We are just getting started," he said, then shot forward with a flash and sent Sora sprawling back with his Keyblade. Goofy caught his friend before he hit the ground. "Thanks, Goofy." "You okay?" the captain of the guard asked worriedly. "Watch out, Sora!" Donald shouted from where he was bombarding Xehanort with magic. One of the spells hit its mark, and Sora took that opportunity to lunge in close. With a flick of his wrist, Master Xehanort moved the world again, this time 90 degrees to the right. And Sora found himself falling straight into the water. As he sank, he saw that the layers of buildings continued all the way down into the depths. Maybe these were other cities that had sunk beneath the waves. He didn't have much time to wonder, though. Donald and Goofy were paddling their way toward him. Master Xehanort wasn't going to let a little water get in the way of him and his target either. Being underwater slowed Sora down. If he couldn't swing his Keyblade properly while he was swimming, then maybe the answer was... magic! Donald cried before Sora could say it himself. They both began to spin around in the water, firing off spells left and right. Master Xehanort was ready with some magic of his own, but luckily Goofy was there with his shield to keep them safe. And then Xehanort was gone. Sora swam to the surface with Donald and Goofy, keeping his eyes peeled for their enemy. Through the water, they could see that the once stunning buildings of the city now lay in ruins. There was rubble strewn all over, and a dim haze hung in the sky. Master Xehanort slowly drifted down from above. Sora made his way toward him, jumping from one pile of debris to the next. Meanwhile, Xehanort called up pillars of fire from the ground to chase him down. Sora dodged out of harm's way and kept working his way closer as Master Xehanort's laughter rang through the streets. He fired off spheres of black energy that Sora deflected using his Keyblade, but when Sora finally got close, Xehanort took him by the throat. "I will teach you the futility of your actions." When Xehanort tossed him away, Sora managed to right himself in midair just before hitting the ground, then went immediately back on the attack. The boy fought with every bit of strength he had in his soul, and, at the end of a long and exhausting battle, finally brought Master Xehanort to a standstill. The old man's armor cracked, and his Keyblade clanged to the ground. He couldn't even stand straight. After a moment, both his armor and helmet shattered in a flash, leaving him on his knees and defenseless. Sora watched him angrily, his Keyblade still ready just in case. But then, Xehanort flashed an arrogant smile and vanished in a burst of darkness. Sora scanned the sky and found what looked like a clock tower that stood at the center of this world, facing them and almost daring them to come. The upper portion of the tower was shaped like a T, with the clock face in the center, structures to either side, and a flat roof on the top. Whereas the rest of the city had been destroyed, this tower had been left pristine and untouched. Sora, Donald, and Goofy raced for the final stage, the roof of the clock tower. When they arrived, they found a perfectly square arena for their battle. Master Xehanort was waiting for them. Sora thrust his Keyblade at him accusingly. "It's all over, Xehanort!" "You thought you could contain me here, knowing all that you do about connections?" Master Xehanort raised his right hand before him, and with the brilliant flash, the Keyblade materialized in his grasp. "There is one sky, one destiny," he declared, as if this was an irrefutable truth, then pointed the Keyblade toward the heavens above. The clouds in the sky began swirling ominously, while hazy light peeked through the gaps between them. It was just like the beginning of all this, back in the Keyblade graveyard. "That has to be..." Donald tightened his grip on his staff, and Goofy readjusted his on his shield. Sora's fingers clenched on the handle of his Keyblade. "It's going to be okay. Donald and Goofy are with me. Riku, King Mickey, and all my friends are fighting their hardest too." The gap in the clouds widened in the sky behind Master Xehanort. "We have to stop him, and we will!" Sora and Xehanort's Keyblades came together with a loud metallic clash. "Meteor!" Sora joined forces with Donald to hammer Master Xehanort with magical boulders from the sky, and then he jumped onto Goofy's shield. "Let's go!" After building up momentum, the two of them rammed straight into Xehanort, but the old master managed to stop the attack and force Sora away, then floated upward, turning to face the sky. A circle of arcane symbols appeared on the ground below and rose up after him, bringing Sora and his friends with them. "Come, Kingdom Hearts!" Master Xehanort held out the Keyblade to the sky, and light flew from it into the opening in the clouds. A gigantic glowing heart began shining within. Kingdom Hearts had arrived. Spheres of light began to rain down on Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Whether they came from Master Xehanort, the sky, or Kingdom Hearts itself, that was uncertain. All they knew was that Xehanort had to be stopped. "Just let it end, boy!" Master Xehanort returned to the ground in a column of light. Sora blocked a blow from the Keyblade, then retaliated with several of his own. Donald and Goofy hurried over to him, and with a nod showing they had the same idea, all got behind Goofy's shield and barreled straight into Xehanort. Momentarily stunned, the old man floated back up into the air. "We have to beat him, and fast! Everyone's counting on us!" Master Xehanort turned to face Sora, then pointed the Keyblade skyward, shouting, "Enlighten me!" When Kingdom Hearts pulsed brightly, a heavy feeling hit Sora's chest. Darkness began pouring over his body, and his eyes took on a crimson glow. Sora could feel the strength draining from his body all at once, and he hunched over almost like a shadow. Despite his more erratic movements, that didn't stop him from going after Xehanort. With each hit that connected, light broke off from the old man's body. Feeling that the glimmering fragments would restore his strength, Sora kept attacking Xehanort with his Keyblade. Is anger darkness? I'm definitely angry now, but I think some anger can protect others. Sora's thoughts broke off as countless rays of light shot down on the battlefield. Evading them as best he could, he leaped up toward Kingdom Hearts. Still wrapped in darkness, he dropped on Master Xehanort from above with his Keyblade. Sora's enemy came crashing down into the center of the floating symbol they stood on, and Sora landed a short distance away, now back to his old self. As he did, tall pillars appeared around the battlefield with figures wearing black coats sitting on thrones atop them. There were 13 of them, and they would attack, then disappear in a flash. Blocking and countering their attacks seemed to get rid of the pillars for good. Once they were all gone, Master Xehanort floated up into the air again. Sora aimed his Keyblade at Xehanort, firing a stream of light out at him just like when he opened keyholes. But the light fell short. Master Xehanort laughed. "It ends here and now," he bellowed, then soared even higher with the great moon at his back. Kingdom Hearts took on a different hue, and the beam from the Keyblade fired straight for Sora. Sora managed to get his Keyblade up in time, but the force of the impact sent him flying backward into the very depths of darkness. Sora floated in the abyss for a time. Am I falling into the darkness? No, I can't give up now. Not when I have my friends here with me. I've still got to protect everyone. Sora was on the verge of succumbing to the darkness when two lights approached, one blue and one green. It was Donald and Goofy, the other two half-pints making the whole. Sora opened his eyes to see that Donald and Goofy had joined him in holding up his Keyblade against Xehanort's beam. 3 lights shone forth from the Keyblade, merging into a radiant beam that utterly destroyed Xehanort's own and sent the fallen master toppling from the sky. Back on the roof, Master Xehanort sank to his knees and then collapsed before the 3 heroes. Why? How? It's over now! You lost! And yet Xehanort still only grinned back, looking up at the sky. No, look. You are too late. Kingdom Hearts shimmered overhead. Behind Sora, Donald and Goofy were discussing the matter. Are we really? I don't know. What's gonna happen? Sora asked. A purge. The world will be returned whence it started. Master Xehanort answered as he slowly pushed himself up and back into a kneeling position. He seemed almost grief-stricken as he explained. The world began in darkness, and from that darkness came light. From the light came the people, and the people had hearts. Evil burgeoned in those hearts, begetting more darkness, and that darkness spread across the world like a plague.
The light, the symbol of the world's hope, was devoured by shadow, leaving nothing but ruin and utter failure. But the first light, the light of Kingdom Hearts, it can give us a new start, an empty world, pure and bright.
It wasn't your decision to make, Sora told him. No one has the right to choose that for the whole world. Master Xehanort used the Keyblade to help himself stand.
Then whose was it?
His voice trembled with anger.
The world needs someone to stand up and lead. Someone strong to stop the weak from polluting the world with their endless darkness. Someone to dictate their destiny.
But Sora had to tell him the error of his ways. If so, you're not that person, Xehanort. The old master scowled at Sora. A real leader knows destiny is beyond his control and accepts that. This boy seemed to pique Xehanort's interest. He narrowed his eyes, then softly said,
You make me think of an old friend.
Look! Goofy cried. A keyhole took shape on Kingdom Hearts and grew into a huge magical circle, a beautiful pattern like something in a kaleidoscope. Several streaks of light flew out from it, and Sora recognized them. You made it! Sora exclaimed. It was Riku, Mickey, Roxas, Xion, Axel, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus, the other Guardians of Light. Mickey walked up to Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Are you okay?
Kingdom Hearts is closing on the other side, Riku explained. But we managed to follow our hearts to you, Master Xehanort.
Terra turned toward the one who had betrayed him, and he was about to approach him when Aqua caught him by the arm. But after she saw the gentle expression on his face, she let him go. Terra walked over and stood before Xehanort.
There is more to light than meets the eye, as I told you.
The old man's eyes widened in surprise at that.
You sly fox,
he said. Terra began to shine, and then Master Ericus emerged from within him. He and his 3 students were together again.
Now, hand over the Keyblade, Xehanort,
Master Ericus said quietly.
It is too late,
Xehanort insisted. Master Ericus shook his head slowly, then turned to Sora.
For us, perhaps, but not for them. No, I can do this.
Xehanort tightened his grip on the Keyblade, but then Ericus took one of the grips in his right hand. With a soft smile, he put his left hand on Xehanort's shoulder.
Enough. Checkmate.
How many decades had passed since that day? Ericus and Xehanort, not yet masters, sat across a game board in a room right here in Scala at Caelum. The only piece on the board was a single white knight, declaring victory. I told you you might be surprised, Ericus said, while Xehanort turned to face away in a huff.
Yeah, you got me.
Huh? Really?
What?
Xehanort asked. He wasn't expecting Ericus to be so surprised. It's just, you never admit it when you lose.
That's 'cause I never lose.
Oh, come on. The 2 friends grinned and laughed, and Xehanort offered his congratulations.
Good game today.
I try.
Maybe I won't go as far as you.
Xehanort flicked the king on the board with a finger.
When the world needs a defender, they'll pick you, Ericus.
You think? Ericus said in surprise, then scratched his head bashfully.
But that doesn't mean that I can't be there for you,
Xehanort added.
Yeah, and I'll be there for you.
The 2 shared another smile, then laughed. Life had been so peaceful back then.
Very well done.
Master Xehanort approached Sora and offered him the Keyblade.
Terra, Aqua, Ven,
said Master Ericus.
Forgive your foolish teacher.
Master! Aqua and Ventus ran over to their teacher and threw their arms around him.
Master!
Terra walked over a moment later, watching Ericus.
Ven, I put you through such a harrowing experience.
Master Ericus placed an arm around the boy's back, and Ventus pressed his head into the master's chest.
And Aqua, I left you such a heavy burden.
Aqua could only answer with a small sob.
Terra, look after them for me, please.
Terra met Master Ericus's gaze and nodded. Master Xehanort, who had been watching the reunion, began to stumble, but his old friend caught him. As he lent Xehanort a shoulder, Ericus said his final words.
Ready, my friend?
Yes, Master Xehanort said with a smile. Light flowed over both of them, returning them briefly to their youth. The two young men smiled at each other, then disappeared in a flash. Kingdom Hearts bathed the world in its radiance. "Sora, let's close it," Mickey urged him. Sora nodded and held the Keyblade up. "Everybody, help me out!" At Sora's signal, all the Guardians came to stand behind him. Sora pointed the Keyblade up to the heavens, to Kingdom Hearts, and let the light burst out from its tip. When the beam met Kingdom Hearts, it began to glow until its light covered the entire world. And then they were back in the Keyblade graveyard. They had returned from Scala at Caelum to the crossroads among the ancient Keyblades. "It's finally over," Mickey said with a smile. Sora shook his head, facing away from the others. "No." "We'll find Kairi. Let's head back to Master Yensid. We can figure it out," Riku said to Sora. "No, I know what to do." Sora raised his head again, then turned to his friends. "My whole journey began the day I lost her, and every time I find her, she slips away again. I thought we'd finally be together, but she's out there, alone." Sora lowered his eyes for a moment, then looked back at his friends. "Not for one more second," he said firmly. He made up his mind, and no one could argue with him. Donald and Goofy walked over to him. "We'll go too!" "That's right." Sora shook his head sadly. "Thank you, Donald, Goofy, but this time I have to go it alone." Mickey came over and expressed his own worries about the plan. "Listen, Sora, the power of waking isn't to go chase hearts around. Even if you do locate Kairi, you might never come back to us again." "I will, and we'll both be back before you know it," Sora assured the king with a confident smile. "Please!" Mickey couldn't give up trying to persuade him. "Let him go, Mickey," Riku said, kneeling down beside the king. "His heart and his mind are made up. Now, believe in him." "Yeah. Safe journey, Sora." "Thank you," Sora replied. Riku and all his other friends had faith in him through thick and thin, and he really was grateful for that. And then, as everyone looked on, he raised his Keyblade to the sky. A beam of light streaked from it, opening the way forward.